Good morning, South Africa, and welcome to State of the Nation, where we take an honest and unfiltered look at the actual state of this country. If you enjoy the conversation, please support this channel by liking and subscribing, and join in the conversation by leaving a comment. We want to build a community for all South Africans that transcends race and gender, and adds positively to the national dialogue. Last week, yet another political coalition collapsed, resulting in the ousting of the mayor of Johannesburg and the ANC regaining control by proxy. To date, coalition politics has not worked well in South Africa, and we need to ask why. As the ANC's support dips, many see coalitions as the political future of South Africa. But is that a good thing? Coalitions are repeatedly collapsing at a municipal level, so can they work on a national one? A political alliance is only as strong as its weakest link. I would like to point out three weak links in coalition politics. The first is ideological differences. Let's consider one of the first coalitions, between the DA and the EFF in Tshwane. This was a marriage of convenience that was doomed from the outset. The ideological difference between the DA and the EFF would always be too significant to bridge. A radical far-left party and a centrist party share no ideological beliefs. It was a coalition formed out of hatred for the ANC, not a shared vision. The fundamental requirement for a coalition to succeed is for the members to have a shared vision of how they want to govern. Suppose the coalition members are fighting each other over fundamental ideological views. In that case, they don't stand a chance of repelling attacks from the opposition or doing their job of governing. Coalitions are failing because their ideological standpoint as a collective still needs to be settled. Instead of a unified ideological stance, each party is bringing its own ideology and attempting to enforce it. For governance to succeed in this country, we need a political leadership committed to limited government, individual rights, free markets, non-racialism, private property rights, and free speech. These principles must be shared and settled before any coalition is formed. If you vote for a party that promises these values but then partners with a party that does not, they betray your vote. The next weak link is the quality of those elected. If you are going to make a deal with clowns, don't be surprised when you end up with a circus. We have repeatedly seen party members willing to cross the floor and betray their coalition because the opposition has offered them a better personal deal. Since democracy, this nation has suffered because politicians have put self-interest ahead of national good. There are far too many politicians in this country that are only interested in what they can get out of being in power. These people have no integrity, and their ideological beliefs can be bought with the promise of a better position or access to tenders. Political parties have been willing to get into bed with anyone who will give them the needed seats to gain power. This needs to stop. A shared vision and a commitment to clean governance must be the starting point for any coalition. The last thing I would like to highlight is that minor parties can act as kingmakers in coalitions. As a result, they have far more power than the voters gave them. Often in coalitions, one seat can make the difference between who is in control, meaning small parties can hold their coalition to ransom with the threat of switching sides, allowing them to dictate terms and demand concessions. It's a case of the tail wagging the dog, which will always be a threat in coalition governments. Political parties have a duty to form responsible coalitions that will be able to work together for the good of the country. And we, as South Africans, must realize that voting is a responsibility, not only a right. We must discharge that responsibility with diligence. In the time of coalition politics, every vote counts, and you should use it for the good of the nation. Stop voting for clowns. If you want to know more about what is happening in the world, check out our sponsor's book, The Ministry of Truth, by Ethan Quinn. This book explains how identity politics is used to manipulate society.
Despite the propaganda, this is not a struggle between people of diverse cultures, races, or genders. In reality, the culture war is taking place to decide the fundamental question of our time: what sort of society do we want?